We've been laying the groundwork for an introduction to organizational change and have touched on a number of issues that make up what might be called a philosophy of change, a personal philosophy of change. At this point, we will now be moving into determining what your philosophy of change is. What is your change philosophy? To do this, there is a worksheet that is provided with this lecture, and the remainder of this video will really just be stepping through those questions to provide a little bit more detail about what those questions mean. I will be doing this quickly because for the most part, these questions are rather self-explanatory and you can work through them on your own. Question 1 deals with past experiences. What your past experience have been, what has worked well, what problems were encountered, and what does this really mean to you and what you believe about organizational change. Again, this relates to past experiences and what you believe now. Question 2 discusses past roles that you may have played in organizational change initiatives. Were you a champion or initiator of the change? Did you serve on the change leadership team? Or were you a pawn or possibly just a bystander in the process? These are typical roles, and most people honestly are probably bystanders, or they may feel like they're pawns in the process. Going forward, what would you like to have as a role in organizational change? Question 3 discusses breaking habits, habits you have personally broken or tried to break in the past. This relates to organizational change being driven by many individuals simultaneously undergoing a change process. Oftentimes, change addresses habits that people have that are embedded in the structure or the systems or in the attitudes and behaviors that are in place. Further, what additional changes might you like to make in yourself? Because as you consider organizational change, you also have to consider how people undergo change, including yourself. You are a better change agent if you know how you can bring about change in yourself. Lastly, what things might be needed to be changed in you that you don't know about? These are the things that others know about you that are blind to you. Question 3 addresses beliefs in others. Do they work for a common good? Do they have political ambitions? Are they team players or competitive within the workforce? Do they work for personal gain or mutual gain? These are all questions that drive your approach, and the approach can vary from a tell, sell, test, consult to co-create approaches. These are variations as to involvement of people, from virtually no involvement or treating those change recipients as pawns in the process to full involvement at the co-creation level. Choices here as to what type of an approach is dependent upon your natural inclination as to how you deal with people, how you deal with organizational change, and your past experiences. To some extent also, the choices you make here leads to the types of resistance, which happens to be the next issue. Change resistance. Why do people resist change? Is it better to anticipate change or deal with it as it arises? Or should there be a mix? How should you split your time versus upfront time anticipating and mitigating possible change resistance versus dealing with it ad hoc as it arises? Should the change, in your opinion, be focused as an incremental or a transformative? This deals with how you want to actually work with change in small pieces or large chunks. Do you want to deal with a continuous process or an intermediate, all hands on deck process that is rarely done with a long or ideally a long rest period between change cycles? What determines your approach as to whether you would prefer a continuous versus a big initiative? Question 7 deals with your tendencies toward management or leadership. Everybody has some natural tendencies, though, as I've repeatedly said, organizational change involves both functionalities. The key is, what is your natural tendency? Do you lean toward control or the leadership or influencing of others? Do you prefer to focus on structure, policies, and processes, or do you prefer to focus on a bigger picture vision and attitudes toward that vision? Question 8 deals with change facilitation. How confident are you in your ability to articulate a vision for change? Have you experienced managing projects, in particular, managing a change initiative? Do you have the competence to do this yourself, or do you need additional expertise? If so, do you know how to hire that expertise, or can you get it just in time through training sessions such as this one? Question 9 deals with your desired approach to change. Do you prefer to focus on structure, attitude, or behavior? What is your natural inclination? How would you prioritize these three, or weight your effort as to where you focus your attention? Further, every change situation is different and may require different prioritization, different weighting. Do you know how to determine that prioritization and weighting? Lastly, question 10, personality tendency. Do you have more comfort analyzing the situation, or are you more of a feeling person that your gut tells you what to do? Neither approach is really best in all situations. The key, though, is alignment with others in your organization. Is your personality aligned with others? And if not, how can it be aligned or modified to basically move the change process forward easier? What is your default personality, and how does that fit overall? These are the 10 questions that are on the worksheet that will help you come to grips with what your philosophy of change is. The reflection then, what do your responses collectively mean? What do you believe about organizational change? And what is your default tendency to approach organizational change? Is your default change approach the ideal one to use in the situation that you face? If not, what alterations in your attitudes and beliefs about change would be required to be successful? This is a reflection process, so I encourage you to take a little time, answer these 10 questions, and then think about your results. Put the paper aside for a while and come back the next day or two and reflect again. Did you think about anything that you might have missed? Did you have any additional insights as to what more you need to know? What is your organizational change philosophy currently, and is it sufficient to be successful in leading organizational change? 10 questions to crafting your personal philosophy of change. I wish you good luck in determining your understanding and approach to organizational change.